My name is Erin roche-winson and I'm promoting my new radio poem called The Hanging. The Hanging is a Gothic poem based around a man who committed 3 murders by hanging them on a broken bough. We follow him through life to death of his own hanging by the law. It's quite old-fashioned, meaning it's set in the Victorian era, so we have the death penalty. If you get seen killing someone, you definitely go to the gallows. We also kind of see birds and their symbolization and what they represent. For some birds they represent death and war, and I find that quite interesting, and so I thought it would be interesting to place that in my poem. What inspired me to do it was I quite like that whole Gothic style stuff, so I quite like The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I like The Highwayman. I like Vincent by Tim Burton. I quite like that whole old kind of style poem where there's kind of madness and death involved. I'll say the viewing would be around about a PG or a 12, depending on viewers how they find the horrific style. What I liked about doing it is the whole kind of using some the old words like bough instead of branch. I quite like that whole different words we have going on. It is going to be on radio, so it will loads of sound effects, for example wind and creaking trees, branches snapping, the rope going down when he's been the whole flapping of birds and stuff, the crowing, the harking, also the gouging and feeding on rotten carcasses sound effects. The reason I felt it needed to be on radio is because with a poem you're not watching a poem, you're reading a poem. So you have your own creative imagination, and that's what I wanted to do with the whole thing, putting it into a radio so people use their imagination, use their creativity and picture what's happening in the scene instead of actually watching it. What I like about radio is people have their own imagination to each different bit, which I found quite unique, and I felt that it was necessary to put into the play, well, radio show. I quite enjoy it being set around about the Victorian era because I felt that was more necessary, considering using the gallows as a death penalty. Or I quite like the Victorian era for that. It has a rich effect to it instead of it being set in the Tudor era, I'll say. It has more of a rich society.